Hi, I'm Brett Casey and I'm the CEO of Deaf Services Queensland. Today I'm wanting to provide you with a brief summary as to what's been happening across the business for the past 12 months here at Deaf Services Queensland, and it's been a pretty busy 12 months. We're led by our strategic plan here at Deaf Services Queensland, and that guides me and our services as to what we should be doing into the future. We're now halfway through our strategic plan, which started in 2015 and will be realised in 2019. So we're pretty much smack bang in the middle. So I'm confident to let you, the members, know that we're on track and aligned with our strategic plan. And there's been two key areas of focus over the last 12 months. Growth and sustainability. We're wanting to make sure that we can sustain into the future and that Deaf Services Queensland's in a good position, but also looking at the growth of our service areas. For example, we've had an increase of ageing well clients coming to receive direct services from us. So we're supporting that aged cohort and we're expecting that to continue to grow in numbers. Our registered training organisation started in the last 18 months to 2 years. We've seen a growth in both our accredited classes and our community classes. And it's fantastic to see the broader community coming in to learn Auslan. We have our interpreting services, and year on year we've seen growth in the number of jobs that we provide, which means the demand for interpreting is certainly being seen across Queensland from our deaf community members. We also support deaf people with an additional disability through our lifestyle supports program, and we're seeing the hours of support provision again increase. We've got clients coming in from other programs and asking for supports from us, which is great and fantastic to see. Our community services continue their walk-in program as well as education program with workshops right across Queensland. As we've seen the rollout of the NDIS, we've also been supporting people to engage with the NDIS to ensure that they can get their own packages for future supports. It is quite a complex system to navigate the NDIS because it is still very new, so we've developed a good process to assist deaf community members in that. This is the first complete year that we've had our Here for Kids program on board, which is our early intervention service, and we've seen a few different programs within Here for Kids providing early intervention. We've got 2 sites here in Brisbane, and we also have a site up in Townsville. We also provide an in-school program where we're providing early intervention into schools and that environment. We've seen the demand increase to an extent that we now have some children on a waiting list because we've received too many referrals than what we can service. So there has been a lot of growth within Deaf Services Queensland, and we're looking at continuing that growth, but making sure that we take a planned approach to make sure that we continue to fit in with what the deaf community need. Our managers who look after each of the service areas will be providing a report as a part of this annual review, and they'll be talking to their service areas so you can have a look at what's happening within each of our different service areas. Another big area of change that we've seen is the NDIS. It started its implementation last year, so it's been a 12-month rollout to date, and there's only a few sites live in Queensland, which is Townsville, Mackay. Now it's starting in Toowoomba and Ipswich regions. So they're the 4 different locations with more sites to come online shortly. We've been assisting deaf community members to access the NDIS, and we've also been working with the NDIS to provide good information on deafness. So when deaf people come in, they're more informed as to how to engage with the deaf people to have a better understanding and do simple things like booking an interpreter. We've done a lot of work internally to transition our organisation to the NDIS, ensuring that we're thinking differently. Previously, we used government block grants, but now individuals will be funded to purchase their own supports. So we need to change how we deliver our services, but also how we market and advertise ourselves. As it rolls out over the next 2 years, we'll continue to assist more deaf community members to be able to access the NDIS. So they've been the key areas of change and focus over the last 12 months. But with all of our service areas growing for the deaf and hard of hearing community, we've also had to have our support services. We like to call this our corporate services, which is IT, finance, administration, and marketing. These support services support the rest of the organisation, because without support services, we would not be able to provide the amazing services we provide to you now. So we're starting to consider our structure internally and what resources we're providing to staff that work here to ensure that they can do a good job for the deaf community. So that's been a major focus for us right now, and we've developed and are still developing a new ERP system to create better efficiencies across the business to make sure service delivery is easier for staff and also easier for our consumers to come and access services here at Deaf Services. So there's a lot of work that's been happening there. We also have our Deaf Lottery. Their primary focus is to sell tickets to create revenue and funds to bring in to the organisation to support our services. Some of our programs are funded by the government and are subsidised by our Deaf Lottery, and other services are supported by our Deaf Lottery, so we can provide services across Queensland. We have been providing services across the state, and we want to make sure that all people get access to a service into the future. I'd like to provide a big thanks from myself to all of the staff here at Deaf Services Queensland. Regardless of what role you work in, I want to provide thanks from me and also a big thanks from the board. I'd like to thank the board for their roles and responsibilities. They see Deaf Services Queensland through. They govern us to make sure that the organisation is sailing smoothly and that we are able to sustain into the future. Our board has a composition of skill sets both from commercial and community skills, and they work together to give a really nice balance to the organisation and to govern our process as we continue to move forward. I hope that we continue smooth sailing like we have been and don't hit rocky water. And Deaf Services Queensland is now in a very strong financial position to sustain us into the future. So it's pleasing to see the great results we've seen across the business and the growth that we're seeing year on year, both in service delivery and financial growth for the organisation, which is wonderful to see. So to wrap up, I'd like to say a big thank you to all the staff, Craig and his teams, and also from me, a personal thanks to our board of directors for providing me with the leadership for us as an organisation to continue moving forward. Lastly, the biggest thanks goes to you, our members. You support Deaf Services Queensland, and through you, you make this organisation a good place. Through your support, through volunteering, by continuing to look at the organisation in different ways to help us provide a better service to the deaf community at large. So a thank you to you, the members, and please look through this annual review and see the different programs that we have. It is a very different annual review. It's not a book form this year, and we're hoping that's more accessible to you all. Thank you again.